Living low waste doesn't have to be complicated. It's really just about making simple swaps that actually last. Like these reusable bowl covers my mom taught me to sew. I use them for everything, literally from sourdough proofing bread, leftovers, all without the plastic waste. If you've ever wanted to make your own, you're in the right place. So let's get into my mom teaching both of us how to make these beautiful covers.
I thought today I'd do some covers for bowls. And we're just going to use things we have around the house. We're going to make a cover for this bowl to go around the top. It's going to make a pattern, so I know how big to make it around the bowl. You can see me go around. You could also do this with a fabric marker and write on your fabric, but I actually can't find my fabric marker today. So this is how we're going to do it. I have a circle. This is the size of the bowl rim. But we also want to go about 2 more inches beyond that. So it gives us room to put the elastic in. Around roughly mark about 2 inches. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? We want lots of room to be able to make that little tunnel so the elastic can go through it. That's what holds it on the bowls. And this will actually make it come down probably about 1 inch. So it gives it a good coverage. You like my measuring tape? I couldn't find mine. When you live in a house with other people, things just go missing. I'm going to just join these so I know how big I'm going to make this circle. And again, like you see, I'm not being very particular with it either. I just want a basic pattern there. So the first circle is the exact size as the top of our bowl. And this circle is what we need to actually fold over and put the elastic in. So I'm going to cut that pattern out. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect because you're not going to see it. The elastic's going to go through it. This is just a paper pattern, so I have something to go by when I'm putting it on the fabric to know what size I have to cut to put over that bowl. Almost done. There we go. I'll clean my mess when we're done, okay? As you can see, I like to recycle. I have some pillowcases, perfect material that you can use for these covers. So, and I didn't want these pillowcases anymore. So rather than getting rid of them, let's use them for our bowl covers. Pillowcases are, as you know, have 2 layers. So I'll get my fingers in there. 2 layers. So I'm actually going to make this cover 2 layers thick, which gives it a sturdier coverage. This is like a linen. My pins. Yeah, no, Mommy has hairy legs. I'm just pinning it so it doesn't move around. You probably don't even have to pin it sometimes. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect because it will look perfect when it's done. That's the amazing thing. See how I'm using the paper just for a pattern? I'm going to take my pattern off. Try not to pick yourself. I know this is only paper, but I think I'm going to keep it just for a pattern if I make one that size again. Or even if I make it smaller, I'll just cut it back a little bit. So see, both sides are the finished sides, right? So I'm going to sew the 2 sides together. So when you're sewing 2 sides together, put the 2 good sides together when you're sewing it. When you reverse it after, you have the good sides on the outside. You'll see what I mean in a few minutes, okay? I'm going to pin them just so they don't move around on me. You don't have to put that many pins in it. I actually think that's good enough. I'm going to sew all the way around, but leave an opening, probably about, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches long, so I can turn it outside out. Nothing fancy with the thread. I just got thread that I wasn't using for anything else. That with my sewing machine, I also go back a few stitches, and that will reinforce it, so it's not going to fall apart on you. All the way around we go. This is music. At the end of my seam, I do the same thing. I go back and forth a few times just to secure it so it's not going to fall apart, okay? So see how I left an opening? So I can put my hand in there, flip it inside out, or outside out, I should say. Ta-da! There you go. So I like the covers with the 2 layers of fabric, I do. But this is thicker. I just like the look of it better. But 1 would be good enough as well. There's my circle. It's going to look like that. Now for old pillowcase I was going to throw out, it's not too bad. Okay, now I'm going to get my irons. I'm going to turn the thing off. I'm going to iron this now so it lays flat. I should stop spitting on my fingers.
Are you drilling?
No, I like the wet fingers to get the material laying where I want it to. Circle complete. Ugly pillowcase, not looking too bad now, don't you think? Anyway, so I left it whole.
What was the point of doing that, of ironing it?
So it just lays flat and easier for me to sew, that's all. So now it'll stay where I want it to stay. So it's like completely, see how I ironed the sides? So see how it turns into a nice circle. But beautiful recycled fabric. I'm leaving this hole here now because I have to make what's called a casing, line of stitching all the way around so I can put my elastic through. A casing, or some people call it a tunnel. You can call it whatever you want to call it, but it's going to work, okay? So let me do that. And I have to choose my elastic. That's behind me. You can use a round elastic, you can use a flat elastic. It doesn't really matter, it's just whatever you have. Yeah, I know, a big tangly mess. That's my life, big tangly mess. I need to see how much elastic I need to go around the bowl, so I'm just going to measure it. As long, it doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing has to be perfect. So I am not perfect. Yeah, perfect. So roughly about this here much, and I can adjust it when I have it in anyway. So I'm going to add an extra, probably a little bit more, maybe an inch. Gives me a little bit more to work with, because once it's in there, I have to sew the two ends together like this, right? So it makes a nice elastic for the bowl. Actually, that's probably a little bit too much. I'm going to go down a little bit more. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to cut my piece of elastic, get a safety pin. I can adjust it to make it snug enough that it's going to fit and stay on your bowl, okay? So my elastic is all ready to go. So now I just have to sew another line of stitching, which, like I said, it's like a tunnel or a casing, so the elastic will stay in there when we put it all the way around. So when I first start sewing, just sew maybe an inch and go back and forth a few times just to make sure it is secure. You see, I'm going to avoid the hole because I need that hole to put the elastic in. I'm going to go all the way around. You see that? So my elastic's going to fit nicely in there. And at the end, same thing. I just secure it. You see how I sewed all the way around? So that makes the area in which I put my elastic. I grab my elastic and I measured around the bowl to see how much I needed, adding a little bit more to be able to sew it, attach it together, but at the same time snug enough that's going to be nice and snug on the bowl. I will adjust it once I have it in. So now I'm looking for the hole that I can get my safety pin in, a little hole I left, okay? So I'm going to put it in there, and the safety pin guides me all the way around. Make the casing big enough so it goes in nice and easily. Otherwise, it's so snug you're forcing it through. That just makes a lot more work for yourself, because I've done that before, okay? Talking from experience. Makai's laughing at me. See how that's gathering it really nice? Actually, if you didn't want to use it for a bowl cover, you could actually probably use it as a bonnet. Like,
Did your mom ever wear those?
nope, my mom was too classy. I never got the inherited classy gene. Almost done. And while you're doing it, one other little thing too, which is not a really big deal, like just watch the other side of the elastic, because if you keep going without watching, this elastic might disappear, so you take it all back out and start again. That's not going to happen here. Bonnet or bowl cover? Like I said, I'd like to make the final adjustments when it's on the bowl, so I'm going to put it around the bowl and see. Do I have to make it snugger? Do I have to make it looser? Because I have lots of extra elastic here. So see how that's going to be nice and snug? Because if it's too loose, it's not going to stay on. Simple as that. Look at that perfect, absolutely perfect cover. See, it's snug, easy to put on, and I'm telling you, that's not going to fall off. Very decorative, made of recycled fabric. We still have the elastic there, so I'm going to finish that off. I just wanted to measure it where I pinned it, exactly how long I want it. So I'm going to make it a little tiny bit longer so I can sew it and secure it. I'm going to cut it maybe an inch longer. Give me some place to secure it. Save that elastic for another project. Sewing this elastic together, and I'm going to go back and forth, back and forth. So I'll tell you, it's never going to come apart. That is never coming apart. But now we have a hole to fix, right? So I'm going to fix that hole. But don't forget, if you really didn't like it or didn't want to use it for a bowl cover, a lovely bonnet. And maybe I didn't have to leave the hole quite that big, but it just makes it easier for me to work with. So I have big hands, I guess. Don't let them see me lick my fingers. By doing it with 2 layers, it is reversible. But if you want to, you can make the inside a different color. But I just like the finishing look when I do with the 2 layers. And it gives it an extra layer when you're putting it in the fridge. Used to be a pillowcase, used to be a bonnet. Oh, now it's a, let's see how this is gonna work now, okay? This is a finishing project. Oh boy, get the threads out of there. That is very, very secure. And not only very, very secure, almost like trampoline. It's so nice and tight because the elastic is tight. Yeah, very secure. Whatever you put in that bowl is not coming out. Okay. Thank you for joining me. Bye.